Region's economic capital. My name is Fon Quinter. I begin today's edition of News in the Nation's economic capital, where congregants of AAC Besingi congregation yesterday blocked doors and gates of the congregation, preventing the pastor and elders from having access. They are protesting against bad leadership, embezzlement, violation of AAC laws by the pastor and church elders, whom they say must leave development right ahead. Fraud, bad leadership, division, and embezzlement are some of the vices parishioners of Église Évangélique du Cameroun de Duval congregation in the Walawan subdivision are protesting against. These disgruntled congregants yesterday, March 20, blocked the gates and doors of the congregation, preventing church service, the pastor and elders from entering the church premises, while calling on church authorities to remove the pastor. With messages like "we want a new pastor," "no to division," "no to provocative prophecy," and "no to bad leadership," thus the pastor alongside elders he appointed has been feeding fat from their money. Therefore, they revealed that church contributions have been going on with little or no developmental activities done. According to the protesting parishioners, for 9 years, the pastor and church elders have been violating EEC laws. With these, they insisted the pastor must go and services will not be held until their worries are looked into. To look for lasting solutions, a crisis meeting has been convened to permit parishioners channel their complaints to church authorities. Meanwhile, at press time, attempts to get the reaction of the pastor and elders failed. The sons and daughters of Isu Menchum Division of the Northwest Region have continued to mourn the disappearance of their Fon His Majesty Kum Achu Albert II. They came together over the weekend to mourn a man who took the interest of his community at Hachas Kewa. Reports from Bamenda.
Thousands jammed the Isu Fon's Palace in Fungam Subdivision, Menchum Division of the Northwest, as sons and daughters of Isu back home and the diaspora mourn the real majesty of the Isu Fondom. The event Saturday, March 19, to commemorate the unfortunate brutal assassination of their Fon His Majesty Kum Achu Albert Kawazu II, alongside one of his wife, Natum Bongdu Bibiana, by yet unidentified militia gunmen. The people of Isu, through thanksgivings, took prayer service for their missing ruler, who ruled Isu from 2008 to 2022, believe the missing Fon is interceding with ancestors for the people of Isu. Given the Fon took the interest of the Isu people at heart, gives reason why the Isu community mourn over the national territory and the diaspora.
He remains immeasurable. I doubt whether he will ever have a replica of his caliber in Isu. I doubt. Not only in Isu, Fungom and Menchum in particular. It's a great loss that we will never think of forgetting about the Isu.
Before his departure, is even what makes the whipping, the crying in Niger territory so much as you can. Here in Yaoundé, Buea, everywhere today. It's the same morning, general morning for everyone departed in such a brutal.
The senseless and painful exit targeted on the dynamic ruler of Isu remains devastating.
Religions wide, all religions he embraces, all political parties he embraces. He had no discrimination. What we are doing here today is being done all over and even extend to the diaspora. Today, all of us are sharing the tears.
You know, thinking about the Fon, thinking of how he was brutally murdered, we feel that we have to give him the last tribute in our own beautiful way, thinking of what he did to us. Like myself personally, I know him so much that I don't know what to say.
The Fon is gone. With popular opinion, he was a great king. The people of Isu believe God is supreme and has permitted his transition. Said in everything, give thanks to God for shortening the life of their king and bringing the Isu communities to people to mourn, holding on to Christ in crisis. The event witnessed traditional manifestations and cultural display of the people of Isu and sisters to neighboring villages in the division and the region.
In the Southwest Region, Chief Dr. Robert Esukambela Endele is the new paramount ruler of the Baakeres. During his coronation, which took place over the weekend in Boya, he was advised to abstain from politics, focus on preserving culture, and also promote unity amongst his people. Nora Kakibi attended his coronation and now reports.
Chieftaincy is an opportunity to serve your people.
His Royal Majesty Chief Dr. Robert Esuka Endeli is now wearing the crown of the paramount ruler of the people of Boya. The coronation, which took place in Boya over the weekend, was a colorful one, attended by top government officials and the likes of the Minister of Territorial Administration, Paul Atanganji, and a host of others. Apart from top government officials, the ceremony was equally graced by men of God from different denominations. The newly coronated paramount ruler ascends the throne at a time when the two English-speaking regions in Cameroon are faced with an armed conflict and some local chiefs are busy indulging in indiscriminate selling of lands. The challenges are enormous and will therefore increase the level of expectation of the population. Given the fact that most often, many traditional rulers are seen in top political positions in the country, the moderator of the Presbyterian Church in Cameroon, the Right Reverend Samuel Fon Quinter, called on the paramount ruler to remain apolitical. He told Chief Robert Esuka Endeli to focus on preserving the cultural heritage of his people.
Your coronation has come at a time that our cultures have been compromised and are being eroded. At a time when our chiefdoms have been mutilated, corrupted, desecrated, and rendered irrelevant. At a time when the dignity and pride of our chiefdoms have been desecrated and robbed in mud, either by the greed and selfishness of some of the chiefs themselves or by the people who have lost respect for their traditional institutions. You are also coming in at a time when many of our traditional custodians have been chased out of their palaces and the foundations of our cultural and traditional values have been shaken.
On his part, the President of the Southwest House of Chiefs, His Royal Majesty Atem Ebako, having witnessed the coronation, said the event marked the rebirth of the chieftaincy institution in the country.
He himself has talked about unity, and he has said that without leadership, there cannot be the unity that we want. So the message I will give him is that he should be the kind of leader who shares with the people around him in order to get the kind of results that we all want.
His Royal Majesty Chief Dr. Robert Esuka Endeli takes the command baton at a time when chieftaincies seem to have lost respect with the emergence of fake chiefs who are simply involved in the issue of land grabbing and indiscriminate selling of the lands. Fon Quinter, the fourth paramount ruler of the Bafor, said the event was a height of respect for the traditional authority.
A leader like Chief Endeli Esuka, educated, well-traveled, but grounded in culture and its tradition and a love for his people, you can see that truly you have a leader in Boya who's going to take things forward, and we want to pray and wish him all the best of God's blessings.
On his shoulders lies a responsibility to preserve the cultural heritage of the Baakeres people and above all, promote unity and love.
Senator Masenya Njifenji has been re-elected President of the Upper House of Parliament. He was re-elected March 17 during a session chaired by the eldest member of the Senate. Kalelum completes the story from Yaoundé.
Positions have been maintained at the Senate as all members of the former bureaus have been re-elected, and the first to be re-elected over the weekend was Senator Masenya Jifenji. He emerged victor with 84 votes out of 87 with 3 abstentions. He was then applauded by the upper house of parliament as he moved to his seat maintained for him via vote. He later thanked the head of state and senators for entrusting the power of command at the Senate in his care once again. He called for unity among senators for the accomplishment of the task that lies ahead. In the election parade, the president-elect conducted the elections of the other members of the bureau, starting with the senior vice president. Senator Abubakar Abolai was elected. 4 vice presidents, 3 quaestors, and 8 secretaries were equally elected. All members of the former bureau were equally elected. It is worth noting the only new add was Senator Loram Nkondo, who was elected for the first time to replace Senator Sylvester Ondoa.
It's a challenge for me, and I say thank you to the president.
With the present bureau re-elected, their duties will kickstart subsequently.
In line with duty, the roadmap of the Senate for the 2022 legislative year has been outlined. It was during a meeting chaired by the President of the Senate, Masenya Jifenji, which is the first session of the newly elected Bureau for the House of Parliament. Nolinga completes the story.
The newly elected Permanent Bureau of the Upper House of Parliament goes into action as members converge at the first meeting in Yaoundé. Amongst a wide range of issues that were discussed, top was priority actions of the Senate for the 2022 legislative year.
This meeting is to outline the roadmap for the activities for 2022 legislative year. Studies for the headquarters of the Senate, the elaboration, the examination of the staff problems.
While seizing the occasion to welcome the Vice President, Laurent Kodo, who was elected to replace the late Sylvester Ondoa, who recently died, the Senate also focused on the implementations of findings derived out last year from the study group that was put in place to solve the problems affecting the Senate.
The Secretariat General is a fulcrum of the institution, and this implementation had to be done, or to be carried out by the Secretariat General or with the Secretary General. But apparently, those recommendations have not been implemented or carried out, and I'm sure that's why the President had to insist it's part of the agenda, for this 2022 legislative year.
With this in mind, it is believed that the working conditions of the staff of the Senate would be greatly improved if the recommendations put in place by the Tabetando Committee are well implemented.
The business class and consumer organizations have addressed the rise in prices of commodities in Cameroon. This was during a meeting in Yaoundé chaired by Prime Minister Head of Government Chief Dr. Joseph John Guti on Friday as Audrey Zaza tells us.
The meeting with members of Cameroon Employers Union (GCAM), chaired by the Prime Minister and Head of Government Chief Dr. Joseph John Guti at the Star Building on Friday, March 17, had as objectives to evaluate the inflationary pressures caused by the upsurge in the prices of raw materials and shipping costs, which has caused lots on the Cameroonian economy, and to examine measures to protect and sustain industrial fabric on one hand and preserve the purchasing power of consumers on the other hand. The business magnates, led by the president of GCAM, Celestin Tawamba, called for more easing measures to help them withstand the shock due to the persistent increase in the prices of raw materials.
We try to explain to the government the problem that we face, the unpredictable economic situation that we face due to inflation.
It was equally an occasion for the businessmen to call for the respect and systematic control of homologated prices in the market and encourage local alternatives to primary goods from abroad, such as wheat. The government, however, reassured that regular consultations with the private sector to seek solutions to the increasing prices of imported raw materials will be organized henceforth.
We have been able to supply our market despite the scarcity of the products in the international market. At the same time, we can discuss about inflation, but what we can say really is that the inflation in Cameroon exists, it's sure, but it's not so high than in other countries.
At the end of the session, participants were unanimous on the need for dialogue between the private and public sectors to address the situation. The price situation on the national market, according to the government, is a consequence of the 2020 recession due to the COVID-19 pandemic and for the past few weeks to the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine in Eastern Europe. In view of this, President Paul Biya recommended an 80% reduction in shipping costs and an exemption from certain taxes and duties. The businessmen have, however, encouraged the government to do more for the Cameroonians.
Officials of the higher education sector in Cameroon have promised to go on strike come June 2nd if government fails to pay their full research and modernization allowances for the first quarter of the year 2022. As university lecturers plan a strike action, secondary education teachers who have been on strike for the past 1 month say their strike action will not be suspended. Katrina Kongwe completes the story.
After 4 weeks of strike action, government teachers in Cameroon are not giving up as the Operation Death Chalk Death Mouse stage by the Enough is Enough movement has said there will be no temporary suspension of the strike. Dozens of leaders have signed the continuation of the protest until government fulfills their demands, stating that the measures taken by the president, Paul Biya, are mere cosmetic demands. Despite intimidations from ministers and local administrators, the teachers have said they are ready for any eventuality. This strike actions, which has been for over 4 weeks now, has seen the involvement of teachers nationwide, as a union of technical grade 1 teachers in Cameroon have joined voices with their peers to denounce maltreatment from the government in their sector during recruitment of technical teachers. They also lament that 5,000 teachers are trained and only 885 are absorbed into the public service and the others are abandoned. Students of Lycée Nilon Brazzaville in the Douala 3 subdivision today took to the streets to denounce the unavailability of lessons for over a month. They left the school campus this morning for the DO's office to ask for a solution to the problem. As teachers of secondary and basic education push on with their strike actions, teachers of higher education equally have served government a strict notice. They state that they will begin strike on June 2nd, 2022, should government fail to pay in full their research and modernization allowance for the first quarter of 2022. And by communicating a reasonable timetable for the clearing of the academic debt of state university. This call comes on the height of the general strike action that started with the Operation Death Chalk before spreading to the rest of the education sector.
Students of the Department of Administrative Techniques of the Higher Technical Teacher Training College, Kumba, showcased their projects. This was during the 2022 Open Door Day of the department, which took place on Friday in Kumba, Southwest region of the country. Tamfu Sidwan with details.
We are here to provide them with skills and attitudes so that they can be able to fit into the society.
These students of the Department of Administrative Techniques at the Higher Technical Teachers Training College of the University of Buea on Friday, 18 March 2022, showcased what they have been able to learn in the institution.
The projects which we have designed and implemented in the department will not only end at the level of the department, but that the society will be able to consume it. Enterprises, institutions will be able to consume it because we train the students here in Cuba. We can say we train them locally locally, but they are qualified globally.
The 2022 Open Door Day was done under the auspices of the director of the institution, Professor Akume Daniel Akume, who observed with keen interest the various projects presentations done by the students. The head of department, Dr. Massa Enes Massa, believes technical education, and precisely that of the Department of Administrative Techniques, has a great impact on the society where these students will be serving after graduation.
We are not here just to give or to train our students intellectually, emotionally, spiritually. No, we are here to instill in them skills and attitude that they can be able to fit themselves into the society and not become a problem to the society.
To the students, the presentations have opened their brains on the various skills and believe they will act as great instruments to the growth of Cameroon, since most of what they learn are practically taking place in the modern and growing society.
We have a lot of activities, we have a lot of projects that were presented to us. We have a lot of debate programs, and we equally had a lot of dance steps that we just witnessed. I can combine practical work when it has to do with administrative work. For example, we are able to see how computer systems do work. We are able to see how some other computer programs like Publisher and some other softwares, how we can use them, not only as students, but as administrators.
The director of the Higher Technical Teachers Training College, Professor Akume Daniel Akume, appreciated the students and lecturers of the department and prayed such ceremonies continue in the life of the department and institution as a whole.
Skill and excellence. We hope that this kind of event will continue every year to make, as I said a while ago, the college proud.
The ceremony was crowned by cultural and artistic display, and another rendezvous has been taken.
Some sons and daughters of Ewane village, northwest region of Cameroon, have benefited from some financial assistance for their businesses. The 11 recipients whose projects were carefully selected received their cash prizes of 100,000 francs each over the weekend in Duval. Lasha Kingsley with details.
Way to get our village out of poverty is through business ventures, and so this is actually the beginning of a new page in the sustainable development agenda of Ewane.
The initiative, that of Ewane Business Forum, was sponsored by a US-based Ewane businessman, Sunday Isaac. The 11 pioneer business students whose projects were carefully selected received their micro-funding of 100,000 francs each in the presence of elites of the village. Tanya Christian Eselekwe is the President General of Ndong Ewane Cultural and Development Association.
We are moving from a self-reliant village development association into an economic transformative action for our village, because we believe that the most sustainable way of developing our village is by promoting business ventures. And so the Ewane Business Forum that gave birth to the Ewane Business School, which is not necessarily a physical structure, but a system that promotes business ventures in Ewane, has just been launched.
The President General of NAGDA says Ewane community is looking forward to producing many millionaires as more fundings are available for projects.
We do not have enough projects to fund. We have more funding available now that will be funding additional projects, and that will continue to grow as the days go ahead. So we have a lot of opportunities, and we have very, very interesting projects that have been tabled by all the laureates here, and we are looking forward to the next millionaires in Cameroon coming from our village. That's our dream.
The main sponsor of the first edition of the program, Sunday Isaac, has said what motivated him was his experience as a businessman and a drive for development in his community.
I have been doing business for over 20 years, and at this time I'm trying to sow more business seeds, especially in the NAGDA community. People who comes from a particular community called Ewane, where they could also invest and tomorrow they can become the future of tomorrow, because actually if you invest on business, like in the world today, the highest people that you could see them prospering well or who are at the upper position in as achievement is concerned, they are mostly business people.
Some of the laureates promised to make the donor proud by managing the money judiciously.
Bamendangu Fon Quinter has been decorated with the title Platinum Member of PWD Social Football Club. This was during the presentation of their trophy, that's the Cameroon Cup, by the team's executive over the weekend in Bamenda. Charles Kibwa with details.
Bangu Fon Quinter, Chief Executive Officer of a Farmers House in Bamenda over the weekend, was conferred with the title of Platinum Member of PWD Bamenda Social Football Club. The team executive, led by team president Pascal Abunu, at the head office of Farmers House Bamenda, conferring the title while presenting.
First and foremost,
Edition of Prime News on My Media, Prime Television, coming up just after the news is Prime Hour with Kum Leonard and his team. My name is Fon Quinter. I meet again tomorrow 6:30 p.m. for world-making news in and out of the country. Until then, have a great evening in the company of more programs on the African Eye. Good night.
Duval International School, #1 of all lay private schools in Cameroon, a dream come true. Created in 2013, Duval International School has moved up the education ladder in the past years. In 2018, they were ranked 19th among lay private schools in Cameroon. International School grabbed the second spot, and in 2021, they have been ranked #1 of all lay private schools in Cameroon by the Baccalaureate Board. This achievement is the result of hard work and discipline from the children and the teachers.
A lot of factors accompany this result. For example, the security that is in Duval enables students to be able to study in a very comfortable environment. A very clean environment is so conducive for learning.
Situated in the outskirts of Douala, precisely at the Bedi neighborhood, the bilingual primary and secondary institution is well designed to enable scholars get acquainted with the notion of study and play. Each student receives a thorough follow-up. Teachers get all required equipments, and the competence-based approach instituted by government is fully implemented to the benefit of school children.
I feel so happy for my results. It's not just by my grace, but by the grace of the Lord and by the grace also of my teachers, who was always there with me, who was at any time, any break, I will always go and see my teachers, and they will always be with me. They will sacrifice their break to help me in all the qualms I have in my studies. So I'm very happy about the staff of Duval.
Duval International School is not just an institute of learning. It is a home to all, for no one comes in and goes out empty. The motto, Discipline for Progress and Excellence, speaks for itself. Pupils and students are taught the basics needed to integrate society and also given the opportunity to valorize their talents. Emerging #1 of all lay private schools in Cameroon, with the best students in the littoral region and 9th at national level, is not a coincidence, but simply result of hard work and discipline.
And another thing that enables Duval to be able to achieve this result is because of the good programming. Taking what the government gives, the competence-based approach, we make sure that here in Duval we are able to provide everything at the disposal of teachers.
Duval International School merges theory and practice, which enables children to be ready to fit into society upon graduation. In the science lab, students and pupils are taught how to produce liquid soap, javelin water used in school. The computer lab is highly equipped with sophisticated machines connected to high internet connection, giving access to the world and latest developments. In just 10 years of existence, Duval International School has been able to do what schools could not do, even those that did took more than 25 years to accomplish. Best students receive financial support and graduates benefit from scholarships offered by Duval's numerous foreign partners. Duval International School, more than just a school, it is a citadel of learning.